The bull market's been going on for 2 years, and people who have been denying it the whole way are finally accepting it. This chart has the beginning of the bull market on it. At the end of 2022, when everybody's super bearish, the bull market starts. Nobody here thought we would be here. Most people didn't. Everybody was thinking downward. I'd been bullish since probably back here when it first bottomed, when this crazy drop happened. We had massive movement downward for a long time. People had not seen this in a long time. I mean, it had been all up since the pandemic, and suddenly everything's dropping. We hadn't experienced that. Look at how smooth this was for a long time. This is the bottom of the pandemic, and it was just this smooth all the way up. Most people hadn't accepted it here. I mean, I didn't even accept it until I think after these ones. I mean, this was a scary drop. This is something we hadn't seen in a long time. And the recovery, nobody believed it. Before this, and I was always wrong about the drops. Because you start out, you want to be a bull. You end up thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting crushed all the time. So then, hey, I can short things. Everything goes down when I buy it. So obviously I know how to do that. The thing you don't realize is you weren't looking for that. So that's not why you made those trades. You're going to make different trades if you're looking for that. So most bears get out of the fact that it's going to keep going up. This is a bullish market. And from the bottom of this point, the Fed and the government came in and went, hey, we'll buy junk bonds, all right? We've never done it, but we'll do it now. We're so desperate. And it just shot the market back up. That was the day they literally went on TV and announced they would do this for the first time in history. What's going on, Life of Ronin? Hey, you grabbed some NVIDIA or something like that? Have you been holding it, or has it been too rough? Because I knew when you got that, I thought, oh, dude, he's at like the craziest point of this. It's probably going to keep going in the long run, but in the short term, it's going to be rough. And it was pretty rough. So if you had it through this whole time, great. I know somebody that's held it. If I had it, I would just hold it. I would not even think about selling it right now. I mean, even if we drop forever, I'd just be buying like crazy. That'd be my view on it if I was owning it long term. But I don't have it. It would only have to be a trade, and I don't want to trade it. But man, it's such a good stock. There's so much more coming up that's going to just pump it if things look good. We're waiting for the overall market. That's the big one. So you still have some. You've held on to it. Good. It's going to be rough, right? But it's with companies like that in the long term, it's worth it. The problem is it's hard to get in at these huge ups. I like to get into stuff when everybody hates it and it's been going down for a while. Like when the market had this drop in 2020, this is when I'd be looking and getting in. I remember this day, the very lowest day, the market had an unusually low drop, even for what you'd seen so far. And I wanted to buy that day. I wanted to buy so much stuff, but that was when I had a problem with my account. What do you know? At the most crucial time, Robinhood fails, right? That's what happened in 2020, so I couldn't buy on that day. And then it started bouncing, and I'm like, well, it's bouncing now. So I missed out on so much stuff because I was denying the fact that this could happen. And we're way past this now. 2021 was all my success. Is that when you got in? Hey, because that's the thing. A lot of people got in 2021. A lot of people got in on that point. I've been talking to people for years before that, and everybody was like, stocks, crypto, whatever. And then now they're like, hey, everything's going up. What's going on with that stuff you've been trying to tell us about for 5 fucking years or whatever it is? And it's just, inflation is going to push this thing up. They're going to find a way to do it, no matter what it is. It's like, because there's a distraction element to look at all the flashy stuff, look at all the things people are arguing about, and ignore the basic fundamentals. Where's the money going to go? It's going to go everywhere. It's going to go in derivatives mostly. It's going to go into currency. It's going to do all the stuff you think. And it's going to flow into stocks and speculative stuff like crypto, which, yes, even though crypto is established, it's still speculative in the long term. You have to realize that it has to withstand some really bad things in order for it to be cemented into the same world. And that'll happen at some point. But until then, people are just going to keep denying it, which is why I like grabbing it now. On the days when everybody hates it, when it's way down, it's been dropping like crazy, that's when I think about buying. I'm not trying to get it when it's all green. I regret it like everyone else. It sucks. It's gonna keep going, and you're like, I wish I got more of that. Well, too bad. You didn't grab it when it was down. You have to expect when you grab it, it's gonna go lower and it's gonna suck for a while. And then you go, okay, I can either cry about that or I can use it as a chance to average down. If I'm gonna keep putting money into it nonstop and I don't care about where it goes, that can pay off in the long term. If you need it now, it's a terrible strategy. It's hard to do anything now. But long term or medium term for trades, I think works best because then you can go with trends. You don't have to go with like sudden ups and downs on the day. If you can go with trends, you can catch those sudden up and downs on a single day because you'll be waiting and they'll just pop up. When you prepare for them and it costs you money, it's not worth it. If you can go for it long term and not have to pay anything, that's what you try to do. Stuff that doesn't change. I just grab as much as I can on the way down. As low as it goes, I just buy harder and harder. On those days when nobody likes it, including the people that usually do, That's when I'm buying. That's when I love to go grab everything because I know it's going to bounce at that point. Even if we're going to continue going down, it's going to short-term bounce because everybody's negative. How do I know when everybody's negative? Trust me, you'll know. Just keep looking at all the media sources and all the social media sources and everything you can find. You'll see the same things. Everybody will become bearish and you think, all right, here it is. Market was great. You did really well. You landed early investor into node craze, made 100K, but a lot of people got wrecked. I want to focus on the legitimate stocks and crypto, no moon boy stuff, just the smart math. There you go. See, that's what I'm looking for. Like, I just want to see the stuff that's tested over time and continues because I'm looking at things in a longer term time frame. So I want to switch this to weekly. This is what I'm more concerned with. Weekly is important. It's high, but there's always the chance that it could go either way, no matter who wins this election, because that's what we're looking at. What's going to happen with the election? And here's the point of this whole stream. I was trying to talk to people about this, and not everybody, but most of the people I talked to were like, are you voting for this guy or this guy? And I was like, I'm trying to talk about what's going to happen with the markets. It's just the math, and it's just what the market's doing. Because we're looking at an open landscape for the market if Trump wins, and we're looking at similar landscape, but more restrictive if Harris wins. So the market is pricing in one way or the other. And whatever your opinion is on which way it's going, that doesn't matter. It's where it actually goes. And you have to be ready for either one. So my saying to myself is like, be okay either way. No matter if it goes up or down, or the candidate you want or don't want wins, you have to be able to function. Hey, Ronan, thanks for gifting the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you, Life of Ronan. That's good that you got NVIDIA. It's a good stock. It's probably going to be rough, but what we're looking at is be okay either way. NVIDIA is good either direction. If it drops, it's a great chance to buy. If it pumps, great. You have it and you can just hold it and ride the wave. And eventually you think about, I'm going to shave some of this. That's what I do with the longs that I'm holding. I wait until it's obscenely up and then I start shaving little bits. I don't just sell huge blocks because look at the market. The market doesn't ever stop. I'm going to go back to the other screen because this looks ridiculous. But basically, we're always up, right? This is the direction we're going. If I zoom in, we're insanely up. We're at all-time highs. And the bull market's over 2 years old at this point. People were rejecting it up until these drops. All right. The only one that I was actually worried about was this one because this was the yen, the carry trade drop. When you think about any stock or any investment, the capital for that is coming from somewhere. And a lot of that was coming from Japan because it had basically free or close to free interest rates for most people that could borrow. So people were making barely anything on the money they were loaning out. But they were loaning out huge amounts of money, which was funding the government. And that point was about to expire, and it did. So interest rates from 0 to 1/4. Not a huge jump, but in terms of everybody for 30 years getting basically free or even free money, and suddenly that's over for basically everybody, that changes the grand scheme of money. Everything is going to have to shift. So I'm ready either way. If it pumps because the market's going to be loose, I'm ready to just ride and wait for a time to shave some stuff off. I'm betting on things that I know are beat up now because the stupid stuff is going to run. So why do you buy the stupid things? You buy the stupid things because that's what runs in a mania. The stuff where you like, oh, I can prove that that's a stupid thing. Yeah, I know, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Why do you think meme coins are a thing? Why do you think the term shitcoin is? It's getting to a point where it's affecting the politosphere. It's affecting financial markets greatly because financial markets can run into a problem that crypto can solve. Crypto is able to allow you to move huge amounts of money, sometimes undetected. That could be very useful whether you're a legal entity or an illegal entity. So what happens is as restrictions relax, more stuff happens. Crazy things that shouldn't happen because irresponsible money is coming into the market. And then you add inflation on top of that. Over time, inflation, do you think it's going to go up or down? Or do you think it'll even pause? No, it doesn't. It continues to go up. They want 2%. And what does 2% mean? 2% above the previous reading. Is it monthly? Is it yearly? Whatever. And that's important because the other thing we have besides the election is the Fed. So here's what I heard today. One of the Fed presidents said they think 3 to 3.5% is the neutral rate. That means over the long term, as in within a year or two, they want to be at that point. If a year or 2 years come about and it's 3% interest rates versus the 5% or over now, that's going to be insanely different for the market. Either way. So it doesn't matter if the market pumps quickly or drops right away. It's going to recover based solely on that. And I think that's a huge part of this election. It's the fact that the market is going to be moving greatly either way. It's not sitting where it is. So you have to be ready for that ride. And if either one happens, the long-term run is bullish. You're going to have stuff like this, but it will be bullish long-term. This is months right here. People got very bearish in that time. I knew it wasn't done though. We're bouncing around in those channels. These are the high volume points right here. And that's where it turns around, right? That's why I like volume profile. I don't say a lot about technical analysis, but volume profile is extremely important. So what happened after that? Extremely positive price discovery. Price discovery is just figuring out where you're going when you don't have levels to work with anymore. So I like levels like this that come off of long-term readings. Where's the volume at and where are the big movements at? So these big movements mean that there will be support and resistance in these areas. This is a highly volatile area because it went down and up so quickly. And then when it rebounded, it was a quick rebound. 2 weeks, boom, boom, one down, one up. And that uptrend has continued. You know how bearish people have been in this stretch right here? And I'm surprised that we didn't just do this and then go somewhat sideways with a slight upward tilt. Maybe even a downward tilt like we did in 2015. But the market is where a lot of stuff ties in. And it's not just the stock market. It's all the markets around it. The stock market is just the one that the people are focused on. So that's where the trends are. So if we get to any of these points, there's going to be support and resistance where it turned around. But look at this. Where this one stopped was where this one topped. So that's what happens over and over. It's kind of like going up in a twisting motion, the way you would think of, I don't know, a particle or something. And you can see how these upward trends last longer and people think it's over at every single red mark. What happened was this was a reality check for all the people that didn't think we were going to get out of this little bear market right here. This was a few months of downward movement, and those downward movements had quick bounces and some consolidation. But where did it turn around? High volume point. And once it passed that, it was over. There's nothing holding it back anymore. That's why it's so easy to go up, because we know inflation is going to continue and we know it's going to pick up because we're going to be dropping interest rates. We're betting on inflation picking up right now. And the people that aren't behind that are the ones that don't see that's where the money goes. Doesn't matter what your opinion is. Everything could fail, but inflation will still push all this stuff up. And that stuff will just follow the trends that you set with your shitty behavior. So there you go. That's what we all do. We all influence the system by being shitty. Anyway, let me get back on track here. We are going up until the election. Be okay either way. If it pumps, I'm going to ride the thing and continue to buy on down days. If it dumps, I'm going to buy even harder after I let it fall for a little bit, because I don't want to catch a falling knife like a lot of people will. And if it bounces quickly, that's fine. I'm already long biased. So it's either going to go somewhat long or very long, and I'm going to be good either way. And then if it doesn't, if it goes down, I'm ready to deploy a bear strategy. There was only one time since this bull market started that I was ready to actually go to the downside, and that was right here. This was the first time I was bearish. I was actually bearish during this drop because the yen carry trade is a huge deal. It hit an all-time high, and then it dropped very quickly, and the bears were so confident right here. That's the thing that tells you it's time to turn around, because when you have something like this, and then you have news that, okay, we're not actually going to keep raising rates. Sorry we even did it in the first place. You're going to have a bounce off of that, because now the money train isn't done. It's just a little more expensive to ride the ride. That's the reality. The freak out was, oh, the money's gone. Everything's crazy. The world's over. The reality was, it just costs a little more now. That's what happens with everything. Whichever candidate wins, you're going to be like, this thing I hate. And you're going to be like, it's only a little bit of that. And you're going to go about your life and be mad about other things, and you won't even realize that this time was so important to you at some point. So my point is, think of that point of your life instead of this thing. How is it going to function then? How is the market going to function then? And it's most likely going to continue its trend. We're going to have these drops. They're going to be opportunities. And if they're not, you have bigger problems. So what are you going to do? You're just going to let these opportunities go by and cry about it? That's what bears do. Bears are upset about everything. They're upset that this didn't continue because they're right and the facts and blah, blah, blah. It's not based on facts. It's rigged. All right? It's supposed to be rigged. That's the genius of it. So there's good and there's bad to the system. The good is it's rigged. You can rig it. You can go like, oh, look at reality. We have problems. I can just offset these problems through fiction. And we do that financially. That's actually a really beneficial thing to our species. The problem is it's being abused. Wouldn't it be nice in every single situation, in every disaster, to just be like, all right, we lost some money, but now we can continue on? because maybe you're caught up in these floods. And that's what we've seen lately. There are floods, things happen, disasters happen, and elections happen. So anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. I'm good either way. If we drop, I'm going to be buying hard. I'm going to let it drop for a little bit if the market is restricted, because people that are irresponsible with money are betting on extremely bullish situations that are going to have to work themselves out. So there's going to be some disaster if all these people completely expecting market freeness get absolutely annihilated. It's not going to be pretty, but at some point it'll form a bottom, because it's still the United States. All the assets are still the United States. It's going to be treated as the same entity, and the new year will start, because the financial new year is right now. The U.S. government and many governments around the world, many entities around the world, start their Q1 right now, the holiday season, because this is when all the money comes in. You might as well orient your thinking to there instead of having that be the end of it. Because if it's the end of it, you party. That's what the whole trap is. You're distracted for the part of the year you should be working, so you try to party in the part of the year that you shouldn't, and you end up getting crushed. So let me check my notes real quick and see if there's anything else. At the top of here, I wrote an article that the bull market was probably going to continue, even though it's crazy and we have an election. I wouldn't be surprised if we ranged. And that the next day we just dropped, and I thought, oh great, so I post a bull post and drop right away. Well, it caught itself and it continued to go. So people were starting at this point. A lot of people were bearish, and now, regardless of what the data says, we know the trend we're in for the most part. There's not really much debate anymore. But are we going to have another correction? Probably. It could be a line like this, or it could be something like this. Just a short time and then another correction. So I would expect a correction before the election. We can't sustain this, or we can, but it's unlikely that we sustain this. The trend might continue, but we're still going to have corrections to a mean as we continue on that path. And even if we go lower, the long-term trend is that we're still good, because this is a long-term trend. This is years of movement. Every drop is absorbed. And to put it in perspective, this crazy, scary 2020 drop is nothing compared to the pump we've seen off this level. So that's what I'm looking for. What happens next? I had one trade left. I had been selling options on DJT because he's the most controversial person on the planet right now, which means the premium is in that stock. And if you can get something out of that stock, the only way you're going to do it is if you don't have any emotion, or you're absolutely crazy and going either way on it. Then maybe you'll get lucky, but you're going to get crushed in that point because it's going to go up or down. So the way I see it, I wanted to be out by now. I got exercised on my final contract for max profit, so I'm done. That's what I've been saying that for the past few streams, basically. I finished Starbucks. Starbucks was all I could do for the first part. Well, not the first part. We had a few trades, but it's all I could have done for the couple of months that I had it on, and until the CEO changed and it absolutely blew up because it was at a low. It was consolidating. It was doing stuff like this. So I grabbed it and boom, took off. One of the best trades I ever made. Sold it basically at the top, but not quite, because it hasn't really gone anywhere. It's gone up a little bit and down quite a bit, but still about where it was then. So that stock was perfect to just get rid of and not hold on to for too long, because it had a tendency to find its level quickly and then reduce because the reality of the money was coming in. The hype was gone and the math was starting to matter more. So when does the math matter and when does the hype matter? Right now, it's all hype. Everything in the economy is hype. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm taking a step back and I'm trying to be okay. I have my personal feelings, but I don't want to be so caught up in it that I can't live my life if the wrong person wins or the wrong situation happens. I don't care. Whoever wins, wins. I'm going to continue. I don't care about everything else. It's too much to deal with, and you only have so much overhead you're working with. Think about your brain. Your brain is a physical, limited thing. It can only do so much. Even no matter how advanced it is, it still has a limit. And if you put more of that towards things that will actually benefit you in the future, life can be a lot better. So if I don't know what to do, I look at charts. I look at news stories. I try to find a way to make something on the market. I go long term. When we drop, I just buy heavier. When we pump, I don't buy until the days when everybody hates it. Then I make my buys. And those I keep separate. I go, okay, this is just a buy. I'm not going all in on this one thing because who knows where it's going to go from here. And maybe you regret that, maybe you don't. But if the trend continues, it doesn't matter. Just getting those on those absolutely down days is the way to go. When you want to give up on the whole thing, that's when you should be looking at lowering your average. Because what happens is, not only is that a good time to buy, but psychologically it fixes the pain. It's a fictional fix for a physical thing, and it works. You can go from focusing on the fact that you're losing money to the fact that your average, which is where you start making money, gets lower. Which means if the stock returns to where it is, you make more money. If you don't do anything and it returns to where it is, you make zero. If you don't do anything and it pumps, you're going to regret it. So you grab it when people hate it, and if it keeps going, oh well. That's the last part. Get used to the fact that you're going to lose money doing this. And everybody that does it has to go through it. Even the richest people. They buy in at the wrong times. And here's the funny thing. The longer I've been in this, the more I realize that the rich people make the worst buys. They buy when it's hyped. Not because they think they're going to make a whole bunch of money, which they know they will, but because they know if they seem confident, everyone else is going to seem more confident. And it's going to artificially push the market, which it does. You can complain about it all you want. I think it's wrong. And a lot of people do too, but it's reality. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit there and watch it happen and let the money go to all the people continuing to make it happen? Or are you going to do your thing and extract as much money as you can from their system and put it into the one that you actually want to flourish? That's what I'm doing. I'm saving up long term. Do I want to play a game or do I want to buy a crypto? It depends upon, if you have a ton of money, you've got financial advisors, you're doing your thing, you're good. If you have a diverse group of assets, perfect. That's what I'm looking for. A diverse group of assets that are just held long-term. Quality, I should say that. Quality, diverse assets that you don't mind buying when everyone hates. The ones that keep going. Like NVIDIA, that one's a good one for a long time. If the bull market continues, NVIDIA continues. It may not be quite as crazy, but that's the other thing. People are going to short the hell out of it. If it doesn't keep going, the shorts are going to build up on it. So if it drops, I'm even more bullish on it. So if NVIDIA goes back to the 20s where it's been hanging out forever, that's fine. We're way higher than I would expect it to be before the election. If it drops down to 100 or slightly below 100, that's fine. That's not a problem. People think that's going to be the absolute breaking point. No, that's good. If it gets to that point and lower, it's better. There's no better way, if you think the bull market's going to continue, than to follow it in NVIDIA. NVIDIA shows up for you. And you can hate on it, or you can just wait until it's absolutely beat up, like when it was at 90. I made a little trade on NVIDIA when it was at 90. I didn't mean to fully. I was going to do it later, but I put an order in. I expected it to cancel on one broker that I don't normally use for trades, and it didn't cancel. And I woke up with NVIDIA shares at like 105 or something. I thought, oh, that's not good. I didn't want those shares. I thought I was going to cancel. And it was lower. It was like 102, 101 the next day. So that's when I started buying options on it. And that was the absolute bottom. It bounced from that point and went absolutely nuts very soon after. But I got scared out on the downtrend. So I missed most of that gain. Absolutely ruined that trade. I did what I don't normally do. For me, I can't be in the early market. I have to let the early market go. I got up at the early market. I saw the thing dumping. I thought, oh, it's up. I got to live, blah, blah, blah. Elections coming up. Everything was in my head. And I dumped. Big mistake. It's just that I dumped at the absolute low. So I brag about being, oh yeah, I sold at the top or whatever with Bitcoin and I've done all these things with these different stocks. I buy them when everyone hates them. I mess them up too because I go in for them and like, all right, I knew the bounce was coming, but I don't know how high. So that's what the people that are bearish that watch me think. They saw me when I was actually bearish and they're like, yeah, this guy makes sense at this point. But they didn't want to go with me when I went bullish. And look at this. There's a reason I went bullish. You can hate on it all you want. We've had the same problems throughout this whole thing. The corruption has not changed. It's just gotten more powerful. And the people that have the power to change it have also gotten more powerful. Everybody has more reach now. And even though there's a machine just crushing everybody that doesn't comply, there are ways around it. There are even ways through the machine. And I think that's the difference between what I think and what a lot of other people think. A lot of other people see all these flaws because they're obvious, but they disagree on how to go forward. They want to destroy the machine completely and start over. I think you could do that. I've thought about that many times. Every time life is hard, I think about that. It's human nature to just want everything to start over, but also human nature to feel trapped and know you can't really do anything about it either way. And it doesn't start over. So what do? You have another fit at some point. It's over, and that's no way to live life. And it's going to happen from time to time, but we can limit it. And what I've been trying to do is get my mental health solid so that I can pay attention to charts. If your mental health is out of whack in any way, no matter how healthy you think you are, if you are easily distracted by narratives, trading will not work for you. It will absolutely crush you because narratives are all you have in short-term trading. But if you're in it for the long haul and you're ready for the trends, you can catch those. These bearish trends, it's not like I didn't do anything on the bearish trends. I would sell things on the way up, which is what I'd learned throughout this. You get these drops, but they do break down. And you're going to get to points where you only have so much time to make money because as you learn about investing, you get into more and more things that are leveraged or take time. And you can either go with that or you can run from it. If you run from it, I understand. This is terrible. It's absolutely horrible if you don't know what you're doing. And you can't know what you're doing when you get into it. You have to fail for a long time, which with something like derivatives, it's not an easy task. You're going to get destroyed failing with derivatives unless you're either forced to or have the discipline to put in smaller amounts of money as you learn. So when this happens, you're ready. And this was the thing that told me, all right, it's different than I thought. I was so bearish throughout this whole thing. I gave up and then I said, okay, I kind of accept it, but we're going to have another breakdown, right? So I was stuck in that mindset, even though I had accepted the bull market finally. And I'm talking about like, you have to accept the fact that this is going to continue. This is way more powerful than the downtrend. No matter where you go, if the liquidity leaves the US market, it'll go somewhere else. And crypto and the US market and other markets are all intertwined. So find your thing, watch it, invest in the stuff you actually believe in and are okay with the data. Look at the data. Is it profitable? Do you see it being profitable? Do you like the vision? Are the people running it competent? Listen in on the stuff you don't understand. You're going to hear these meetings. You don't know what they're saying. Just listen in every so often because you'll catch little parts. And over time, you're like, all right, I can kind of go with that. That makes sense. Then go with it. If you listen to these things and you don't get it and you hate it and it's terrible and you look at the data and you're not sure, then don't do it. Just go with the stuff go with the stuff that actually feels right. The problem isn't that people don't know how to find trades. The problem is that they don't know how to avoid all the flashy bad ones. And you have to spend years learning that lesson. That's what I did. And that's why I'm in the position I'm in now. I've been waiting for this. I've sold most of the stuff that was medium turn, that was really profitable. I got rid of the stuff that I'd made so much money on already long term, but didn't want to hold any more risk on that I know I'm going to regret in the future. I guarantee I'm going to regret letting some of this stuff go. But I had to shore up some cash because I don't know which way this is going to go. So my thought is keep my longs going, but trim the fat on these things. Trim the excess on these things because it's at a point where we don't know where this is going to go. Even though we know the long term, the short term is going to be rough. So I'm just looking for a ride either way. And I either add to it or I hold and shave. So there you go. Wait and add or hold and shave. Those are the options. Be okay either way. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. And I just wanted to say a few things. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me and watching all this. It's hard to form my thoughts into these streams sometimes because there's so much that goes on. And I'm terrible with words. It's so hard. I have to think about this stuff for so long. And then I just have to run because there's too much to write it all down. I write my plan and then it just ends up being crazy. So hopefully everybody's been doing cool. Ronan, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Stinky, I appreciate you. Come hanging out. Everyone else, it's been absolutely nuts lately. Hopefully you're staying safe and you're ready for this thing. I got one more stream before the election. That's when I'm going to put my final plan out there because the final plan for the next 4 years. Because whatever happens, we got 4 years of it. So that's what I'm waiting for. The actual official end. It doesn't have to be official, but when we know it's over. Like the last one, it wasn't official for quite a while, but we knew that it was over. And the same thing's going to happen, or it's just going to happen like normal. Either there's a big crazy thing or there's not. I don't know. I'm worried about it too either way. This whole thing is so crazy. Both sides are so crazy. It's terrifying. I had to step back from everything because this political madness it's too much. It's way too much. So stay safe out there. Be ready for it. I'm out.